Hey there movie lovers, welcome back to Rocky Watches Movies. Today we're storming into the world of war cinema with the 1967 classic The Dirty Dozen. This legendary film, packed with intense action, unforgettable performances and a ragtag team of misfit soldiers on a dangerous mission, has become a staple of the genre. But how much do you really know about what went on behind the scenes? So gear up, lock and load, and let's dive into 20 things you never knew about The Dirty Dozen. The film is based on the book The Dirty Dozen. The author, E.M. Nathanson, got the inspiration for his best-selling novel from a real-life group of World War II paratroopers known as the Filthy 13 of the 101st Airborne Division. These men were demolition experts and reportedly earned their nickname by going without bathing or shaving for an extended period during training before the Normandy invasion. They weren't former convicts, but a group of rebellious individuals. Members of the Filthy 13 can be seen in vintage film footage and photographs, their faces adorned with war paint as they prepared to board their planes for the D-Day jump. When Jim Brown was cast as Robert T. Jefferson, he was still under contract with the Cleveland Browns. Unfortunately, filming clashed with training camp for the forthcoming NFL season. Cleveland owner Art Modell reportedly threatened to fine Brown $1,500 for each week he missed, a prospect Brown found unacceptable, leading him to retire from professional football at the peak of his career. In the original script, Jim Brown's role was intended to be minor. The fortunate news for the former Cleveland Browns NFL star was that director Robert Aldrich was a keen football fan. Simply because of Brown's professional football status, Aldrich chose to expand his role in the film. Filming for The Dirty Dozen took place in the United Kingdom during the summer of 1966. But the weather did not cooperate with the production schedule. Persistent heavy rain caused delays that lasted several months at a time. Ultimately, the reshoots pushed the studio $1 million over the original budget, bringing the final cost to over $5 million. The heavy summer rainstorms delaying the filming schedule by several months proved inconvenient for Trini Lopez, who was enjoying a flourishing music career at the time. Rumour has it that Frank Sinatra advised Lopez to leave the production early and return to performing, which effectively ruined his acting career. He ended up having only a few cameo appearances in television shows afterwards. There is also another account which suggests his agent failed to negotiate a pay rise. Regardless of the reason of his leaving, his character was written out of the film fairly quickly. Lopez played the role of Pedro Jimenez, who was originally supposed to be killed by a single bullet to the head during the group's invasion of a chateau. However, Lopez's early departure meant that his death was instead used for Private Vladek, played by Tom Busby, with Jimenez being killed off-screen. Hollywood has long been known for casting actors far older than the characters they play. Just look at virtually every film featuring high school students. The Dirty Dozen was no exception. When the film was cast, many of the lead actors were in their 40s, despite portraying characters roughly half their age. Several actors in The Dirty Dozen had real-life military experience from World War II. George Kennedy and Telly Savalas served in the United States Army, while Charles Bronson was in the United States Army Air Forces. Lee Marvin, Robert Webber and Robert Ryan had served in the Marines. Clint Walker was a member of the U.S. Merchant Marine, and Ernest Borgnine had served in the Navy. For his portrayal of Major John Reisman, Lee Marvin drew inspiration from several sources. One was his own experience in the Marine Corps during World War II. Another came from his best friend, John Miara. Having served alongside Miara during the war, Marvin incorporated aspects of his friend's personality into the character. In the film, Charles Bronson's character talks about his family and mentions that his father worked in a coal mine, a detail that closely mirrors Bronson's own background. His father had indeed worked in coal mines in both Lithuania and Pennsylvania. By the age of 10, Bronson himself began working in the mining offices and later in the mines, earning $1 for every ton of coal he extracted. Because The Dirty Dozen was filmed in the late 1960s, the actors naturally had contemporary hairstyles. Director Robert Aldrich, however, aimed for historical accuracy, and since the film was set in the 1940s during World War II, the men needed appropriate haircuts. Lee Marvin immediately got a crew cut, but many of the others merely got trims to their existing styles. After telling them twice their looks weren't acceptable, Aldrich finally told them they needed either to come in with their hair cut correctly or else call their lawyers. World War II veteran Lee Marvin provided technical assistance with uniforms and weapons to create realistic portrayals of combat, yet bitterly complained about the falsity of some scenes. He thought Reisman's wrestling the bayonet from the enraged Posey to be particularly phony. Aldrich replied that the plot was preposterous, but by the time the audience had left the cinema, they would have been so overwhelmed by action, explosions and killing that they would have forgotten the lapses. Although the film was commercially successful, Marvin felt it did not accurately represent real warfare, reportedly describing it in an interview as just a dummy moneymaker. Western cowboy actor John Wayne was actually the casting director's original choice to play the leading character of Major John Reisman. Jack Palance turned down the role of Archer Maggot when the studio refused to rewrite the script to remove the character's racism. As a result, the part went to Telly Savalas instead. When MGM acquired the rights to The Dirty Dozen in 1964, they had a specific director in mind to lead the project, George Seaton. Ultimately, however, Robert Aldrich was chosen to direct. In one scene, a chateau is shown being blown up, but the section depicted was not part of the original structure. The original building had been constructed too solidly, and the special effects team would have required around 70 pounds of dynamite to achieve the desired effect. Ultimately, they recreated one side of the chateau using cork and plastic, making the explosion both easier to film and far more economical. In the 1960s, it was customary for post-production to place the opening credits at the very start of a film. However, director Robert Aldrich had a different approach in mind. Rather than begin with credits, he chose to delay the opening credits by over 12 minutes. It is surprising to think of a 1960s film having a behind-the-scenes featurette, as a lot of films do today, but The Dirty Dozen was no ordinary production. In fact, the same year the movie was released, 1967, a short documentary titled Operation Dirty Dozen was released, offering a glimpse of the actors and crew both on set and travelling around England during the 1960s. Before The Dirty Dozen, Donald Sutherland had mostly appeared in small and supporting roles on television and in film. Everything changed when he was cast as Vernon L. Pinkley in the 1967 movie. Apparently, the scene where one of the dozen pretends to be a general inspecting Robert Ryan's troops was initially written for Samson Posey. However, Clint Walker was uncomfortable with this scene, so Aldrich decided to use Donald Sutherland instead. Many believe that this role cemented his career in Hollywood and paved the way for major projects, including MASH. At the time the film was being made, Lee Marvin was drinking heavily. This caused delays and arguments, especially with the producers and Charles Bronson. Bronson actually wanted to physically hurt Marvin and had to be calmed by producer Kenneth Hyman. Unlike many directors, Robert Aldrich was not particularly concerned with securing an Academy Award nomination for Best Picture. He was apparently advised that removing a specific scene would likely earn him a nomination. However, he ignored this advice. The scene in question showed them throwing grenades into a bunker, but Aldrich prioritized the scene over the prospect of an award. In fact, He was among the first directors to depict Americans committing what would be considered war crimes. For a war film, The Dirty Dozen performed spectacularly at the box office. Made for between a $5 to $6 million budget, it earned an impressive haul of over $45 million. The movie became MGM's highest-grossing release of 1967 and ranked as the fourth highest-grossing film of the year overall. Several made-for-TV sequels were produced in the 80s. Lee Marvin and Ernest Borgnine returned for The Dirty Dozen Next Mission in 1985, once again leading military convicts, this time on a mission to eliminate a German general plotting to assassinate Hitler. In The Dirty Dozen, The Deadly Mission from 1987, Borgnine again appeared as General Warden, but Telly Savalas, originally the unhinged maggot, took on a new role as Major Wright, heading a team sent to rescue German scientists being forced to create a nerve gas. Then The Dirty Dozen, The Fatal Mission in 1988 followed Wright and a band of renegade soldiers as they attempted to stop extremist German officers from launching a Fourth Reich. It had Eric Estrada co-starring and Borgnine once more returning as General Warden. There was even a short-lived TV show that consisted of just 12 episodes that aired in 1988. As with most films, there are a few errors that end up in the film that eagle-eyed viewers might spot. One such instance is when Jimenez brings a guitar to entertain the Dirty Dozen. During a moment of downtime, he is shown playing the Bramble Bush. However, while the guitar can be heard in one shot, in the very next, Jimenez is seen moving his fingers over the strings without any sound being produced. And there you have it, folks. You now know a little bit more about The Dirty Dozen. If you enjoyed the video, which I presume you did as you got this far, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos coming to Rocky Watches Movies. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.